Hello and welcome to In Conversation with WLV Doctoral College. I'm Dr. Deborah Curitan and I work in research and development at the University of Wolverhampton.
And I'm Dr. Ben Halligan, I'm Director of the Doctoral College.
So we have a blog series that we're currently doing around making applications for research degrees. So what we're going to talk about in this blog is about the generation of new knowledge, and we're going to talk about why it's important in a research degree. We're going to talk about what types of new knowledge might be generated in a research degree, and then we're going to talk about how that's going to make a difference and why this is important in your application. So Ben, a doctoral degree is all about creating new knowledge, isn't it? And this is something that often scares people. They find it a bit nerve-wracking, really. And it's conversations that we have with both prospective students and students who've been accepted onto research degrees. It's the conversation that often goes on throughout a research degree about what is my contribution, how am I making a contribution? So why is it important that we talk about generating new knowledge in an application?
Well, we don't need to talk about it at enormous length. I mean, maybe 2 or 3 sentences in an application talking about the potential of this research to generate new knowledge and what that new knowledge could be. So I would imagine it would be a matter of saying, through this research, I will be able to prove this, to explore something else in a way that hasn't been explored before, to update this body of ideas, to say something that no one else has said before. And this is really the center of a PhD. It's why a PhD is awarded. Unlike other degrees where it's often the synthesis of knowledge, the PhD is saying something for the first time, and you're the first person, therefore, to say those things. So in thinking about an application, and in thinking about the bits and pieces that can go usefully into an application, just a few sentences on what promise we have of the generation of new knowledge would be very welcome to us, because it really gives us an orientation of the kind of achievement that we're hoping to support in the PhD from yourself.
I think that that's a very good point, because I think what we're doing with research degrees is moving from that point of being a research user to being a research producer, and I think that's quite a nice analogy to look at. So how are you going to be a research producer? What are you going to produce? I think it's suffice to say there are a number of different ways of being able to make contributions to knowledge. I think it might be worthwhile kind of talking through the different ways in which a doctorate can create new knowledge. So Ben, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, I think there's a whole spectrum, and on the one hand you can be the first person to investigate a certain area. You can say no one else has looked at this, I really want to plow in there and be the first person to look at this. And that can be archival research, it can be a series of experiments, it can be, you know, that there's something out there that no one else is really critically engaged with, and you know, you can be the first person to do that. So there's a kind of lone explorer element to that. At the other end of the spectrum, I think there can be working on something cognizant of already an evolving body of knowledge. So it could well be that there's been a study of certain tendencies in a certain geographical area. That's really interesting, but what if we do it in another geographical area with different variables, with different subjects? What kind of new knowledge is going to emerge from that will update and nuance the knowledge that's arisen from this previous study? Sometimes there can be frustration that you admire work that's already been done, but it doesn't seem to go far enough, not only in terms of being up to date, but in terms of, you know, incorporating different ideas, newer ideas, rethinking the way in which the research was done, or wanting to replicate experiments and research that perhaps look like they need to be replicated because the results now don't seem as sound as they once did. So you can quite safely position yourself within the context of other research that has occurred, but have enough originality and edge to say we are therefore developing new research. I'm the first person to apply these ideas to this area. I'm the first person to attempt to replicate these experiments and to see if the results still hold good.
So you're talking about the generation of new theoretical knowledge, but there are also other ways of making contributions and generating new understandings, aren't there? So some of the other ways and maybe are looking at a particular existing issue, but through a different philosophical lens, or even looking at something that already exists, but utilising a different methodological approach to exploring it. So you're actually looking at that in a different way and through a different set of methodological approaches. So again, you know, taking a methodological approach and applying it to a new field is an existing field is actually new knowledge, new approaches, and that again, that is generating new knowledge. So there are lots of different ways to look at that, and to what extent do people need to write about that in their proposals?
I don't think to an enormous extent, but I think we would welcome some engagement with this. So as part of the proposal where you're talking about what you want to do, about the literature and so on, 2 or 3 sentences at the end of it to say, I anticipate that new knowledge may be generated in this area or through what I'm proposing. I acknowledge that no one else has done this before, therefore my proposal holds out the promise of being the first exploration of this area to deliver a series of notes, ideas, what have you, results of experiments that will prove this, that, or the other. So it will be the way of achieving this. I mean, often this is interlinked to, you know, particular societal issues where people want to resolve certain things. I mean, I'm thinking we have quite a few doctoral researchers who are looking at matters of business, matters of transport, matters of trade, matters of traffic, you know, so kind of city societal problems around architecture and design as well. And therefore, you could say this not only would be the first one to look to resolve these problems, but part of the new knowledge will be a solution to problems that at the moment don't have a solution.
So you're suggesting that people could just put a sentence in there about how their research potentially could make a change or impact on people's lives?
I think that would be very welcome in an application, yeah. It doesn't have to make a change or impact on people's lives. It could be entirely historical, and it could make a change in terms of contributing to the general discipline and the general scope of knowledge. But if there is some potential there for it, we would absolutely welcome that in an application.
Okay, thank you for sharing those thoughts, Ben. As always, it's great speaking to you, and we look forward to talking to you again.
Thank you, Deborah.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.